Hey everybody, it's Anthony and Tucker from Land Title. We're bringing you your Boulder County market update for all of our favorite lender friends.
Absolutely. We're talking about September 2023. So where do we want to start here first is let's look at inventory because I think that's a big piece that we've been talking about. We're sitting just over 1,000 units on the market here in Boulder County, which is better than what we've experienced during those really busy years. And now we're coming back to going, uh-oh, our inventory isn't rising? Uh-oh, why not?
Yeah, that's the truth. And I think the big thing here is we have decreased seller or buyer activity, right? We have decreased seller activity. And now interest rates continue to seem to trickle up. And they're creating all this extra pressure. And the national media is feeding everyone wartime things now. And it's just a lot going on, a lot of noise, right? So I think our biggest thing that we wanted to help you guys with is how do we cut through the noise? How do we just present some facts that you guys can use with your clients? Because really, that's kind of where we are.
Absolutely. And all of this slide presentation, even just the individual slides, are available. We'll include them in the email. So please use this with your clients. Help educate your clients and help them shop, especially on the buy side. There is a window of opportunity, right? Right after 2007 and 8. Hey, about 2-3 years, there's a great window of opportunity. Now, will it be that large again this time? Probably
I
not.
would guess you probably have maybe a year.
Yeah, a year, maybe even 9 months. So right now is when we want to start talking with our buyers saying, hey, remember how, yeah, these interest rates are tough, but you couldn't find the house you liked, you couldn't shop, you couldn't get an offer accepted. It's the exact opposite right now. So use this leverage while we have it.
Well, and I think you got to remember too is seasonally, this is Q4 we're going into. Q4 every year is the best time to buy a house, right? Unless there's some crazy anomaly going on, like maybe the pandemic. Look at Q4 every year. Decreasing inventory because people are taking things off the market, decreasing activity from buyers. You're going to see the same thing every Q4. So the best bang for your buck as a buyer is right now, right? Maybe the worst time for interest rates, but that's okay. That is date the rate, marry the house, right? And you guys talk about this all the time. So let's talk about inventory in just our local markets. Boulder specifically, 421 units on the market. It's a substantial increase, which most markets are not increasing. But Boulder, Erie, Lafayette all have increases in inventory right now, right? Yeah. And then Longmont, Louisville, Niwot, and Superior have all had decreases month over month, which is kind of what you would expect right now, to be honest. People pulled back real hard on the rates for listings. So those golden handcuffs have really kept people in their houses. But
we can see that affluence factor kind of playing into what we're seeing come on the market and what folks are realizing, hey, can I wait 3 years to sell this property or 2 years to sell it? And we're going to keep seeing that issue going forward. Now, let's jump ahead.
And so let's look at month supply inventory.
Month supply inventory. We've hit the highest point we've ever hit since the pandemic in 2020. Oh my gosh, still not to panic. We're still under 3 months of month supply of inventory as a market. That is still not bad overall. And you look at the historical norms, we are still below where we've been in the mid 2000s. Or excuse me, what is that, the 2010s? Is that what we call them? Yeah, sure. But we're still below those numbers. So we're just coming back to a more normal market of it being balanced. We're not seeing just all seller side and buyers go and take it or leave it. You now can negotiate. Now let's really look at our submarkets too. Look at Louisville. The demand versus supply there is always tight. And it's just because they don't have enough houses. When we jump across the highway and look at Superior, they have a little bit more, whereas Boulder is now still leading the market. And that's obviously because of cost.
Absolutely. And then if we get over to days in MLS, this is active to under contract time. So it's taking on average about 35 days for a house to under contract. But that is real different all over the board, right? Boulder had a really interesting month, super fast market, 24.5 days. I wouldn't expect it to stay there, right? Yeah. We expect it to come up. And usually it's actually bigger than most of the surrounding areas.
And I think that has a little bit to do with price band as well. There's certain pieces that are moving really fast, and then some of the high end is just taking a lot longer to sell that.
But then the slowest part of the market being Longmont at 56 days in MLS, it's taking a little bit longer to sell things. So when you're working with these buyers, there's plenty sitting on the market. There's plenty of ways for them to go out and get a deal. I think they just need to go shop, right? I mean, that's the big thing.
And make that monthly payment happen to make X amount of difference, in equity over the next several years. I think that's a big piece for them.
I think it is too. All right, let's go over to our.
So this is great.
The one big takeaway is luxury has really slowed down, right? And we hadn't been to that point except for the last 2 months, right? It took until August for like the higher end to start slowing down. The 2.5 to 3 million market only had 2 sales last month. It's really slowed down. So you can see behind Tucker's head right there that it says year to date about 35% drop from 2.5 to 3 million, 20% drop at 3+ million. But 2 million's done well, right? So people that are coming in, they can pay cash for things, or that they can put a lot down. It seems to be more resilient. The biggest problem here is the lack in sales are taking place. The bulk between 1 and 2 million is the slowdown, because 1 to 2 million is where they're the most price sensitive to rates, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and those are the folks who would be buying the 800 to 1 million. We're buying in that higher price band. We had a lot of new inventory getting updated, a lot of renovations during the pandemic. How many people fixed up their homes? We even have more inventory pushing up into that higher echelon, and we can't build cheap inventory. So we're going to keep running into this issue of our inventory is going to keep getting more expensive as we continue to upgrade it, redevelop it, and improve it. We're going to keep running into that issue of the bulk of our properties and the bulk of our inventory is going to keep moving up, and where rates are still high, those properties are going to keep slowing down because there's just so much extra inventory there.
there is. So look at this. I think the biggest takeaway here is much easier to see from month supply of inventory side of things. So where's the most buyer opportunity, let's say?
You have to have $3+ million first, so let's start there.
You gotta have $3+ million if you want to buy in a huge buyer's market, right?
Yeah.
Amazing amount of buying power there. But realistically, it is a balanced market over 1.5 million. This hasn't happened in a long time. So now that we're to those like 2019 levels, this is basically where we're at now in the higher end. You could really do some good trade-off stuff here. Now, the only problem is you have to be able to stomach those payments. But if you could hang on to your lower price stuff and buy it up, that might really be a good strategy right now, because there's even 3.4 months of inventory at 800 to 1 million. So maybe even just buy a lot
in a long time. And that's the hard part, is there's the trade-up opportunity, but it's that rate difference that's going to hold a lot of folks back. And that's the conversation of keep your last homes.
I think you should keep your last home and turn it into a rental in so many ways, right? Because if you're buying in the latter half of the market, I mean, you could absolutely do that, and it would help subsidize your cost, because it's going to rent for a lot more than those payments with those 3% loans.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is they don't want to get rid of that 3% loan. That is a great investment choice in the long term. And so we're still seeing that as the lower end of the market also doesn't have as much inventory either. And that's the other side, is the inventory just isn't there on the lower side in comparison to what the demand is. And that's why we see these 2 month supply of inventories at these lower price points.
Yep. So then the other side of this is days on market. You can see that pretty much everything is starting to trickle up a little bit. That 30 to 40 range across the whole thing. Those 2 houses that sold, though, in the 2.5 to 3 million range,
made it look really good.
Yeah, because they sold right away.
They priced it right. Who knows, whoever listed those, I don't know which 2 properties those are. They did a good job because they got them fast under contract and sold, and they weren't on the market getting that negative kind of feeling when someone's been on the market too long. This is the big one that we always like to talk about, and this is that TTM change, which is that far right column on the graph.
I would use the word stability to describe Boulder County, right? We have dropped a little bit in price, right? We're down about 2% on average from across the board. But in all reality, there are markets that the sky is falling. And honestly, Boulder County is a great place to park money right now. And this kind of leads to that opportunity, right? We tend to see plateaus and increases, and then plateaus and increases in Boulder County. So this is a good time where we're really in a plateauing market. You're not really seeing prices drop. You've seen them depress a little bit across the county, but in all reality, this is one of those stable environments where I think this is a great time to buy, because if you buy in the stable markets and then you reap those benefits of 10+% years, which we'll probably see again in about 2025.
Once the rate, we're all in the same boat here. Yeah. Once those rates drop, your phones are going to be ringing off the hooks. Yeah. So it's just a question of when, and we're not going to pretend like we know when, but when that does happen, that's going to be that window of opportunity is gone, and those buyers are going to be now competing with everybody, and it's going to be much more affordability issues. Whereas right now, keep asking for those 2-1 buy downs. Keep hammering that. Work really close with your buyer's agents, because we're seeing a ton of concessions. Here at Land Title, we're seeing, close to 40%?
45%.
45% last month of our deals had some type of concession.
And on average, it's somewhere around $10,000. So it's massive.
These are not small amounts. This isn't $50 for some new outlets.
Let's go over to this slide so we can talk a little bit about this.
Let's do attachment details.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
So
Just because it's this.
let me explain this a little bit, because I think the one thing you need to understand here is that this 98.3% listed sale price is a little misleading, right? Because we're talking about concessions, right? Talk 45% of homes have concessions on them in the area. Now, the real problem with that is that is not taken into account for this. So 98% is the price at which it went under contract at. So it doesn't take into account price adjustments and the price at which it's sold. So it basically says like they came in and made an offer at 98% on average, which seems great. That's fine, but it also could have 20,000 in concessions attached to it. It could have had $50,000 in price drops attached to it, and neither one of those are
Or it could have come in at 98% with that, 2, 3, let's say $20,000 2-1 buy down, 3-1 buy down included in the contract itself. So that's why the number looked a little high. And we've also seen
we're seeing a lot of stuff close to asking price with buy downs,
or even slightly over asking with a much larger concession to kind of justify so that it can be financed versus cash. And using some of those, some of the good appraisals we still have on record right now, before we have too many good deals happen, right? We still have really good appraisals, so we can get these deals through excellently.
All right, so take a look at the attached stuff. This is the last one we'll talk about. Tucker.
Yeah, I'll take it off. Attached has slowed down quite a bit, even more than detached. It had been hotter than detached for really the last 16 to 18 months, maybe even 20 months, because they had a lot more room to grow, because it was really depressed during the height of COVID. And then, we were allowed to go back out, have fun. Attached boomed, did great. Prices went up a lot. Whereas in detached, we saw the market starting to pull back a little bit. Attached really went up, and now attached is starting to balance out and starting to go down a little bit.
It's trending almost identical to detached.
Yeah.
And it has not been like that.
And it took a while, but we're going to continue to see attached struggling a little bit. It's going to be tough because people are justifying, hey, I don't want to pay 8% for a condo. I don't like that much. That's
unfortunate.
So really kind of focus on those detached properties, because that's really going to be the bread and butter and the gold standard, as it always has been and always will be here in Boulder County.
All right, well, you heard it from Tucker and I. Thanks for joining us. We're from Land Title, and we always bring you the best market updates. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel to see more of what we do, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everybody.